Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City, here is Steve Malzberg.
Понял, блин.
Только что сбили самолет, группа минера за Янакиева упал.
Летчики, где летчики?
Поехали искать и фотографировать сбитый самолет.
А сколько минут назад?
Ну, 30 минут назад где-то.
Короче, блин, стопудово гражданский борт.
Понятно. А этот, как и, народу много там?
Да пиздец. В обломки прямо во дворы падали тут. Вот так вот.
Ну, борт какой?
Да я еще пока не разобрался, потому что я не был возле основной части. Я только вот смотрю там, где начали первые тела падать. Там остатки внутренних кронштейнов, кресла, тела.
Понятно.
Вот так
Из
вот.
вооружения есть что-нибудь?
И вообще ничего. Гражданские вещи, медицинские ошметки, блин, там.
All right, folks, there's the alleged conversation between the rebels posted on a Ukrainian security website. Joining us now, as we welcome you back, is Captain Tom Bunn, retired Air Force pilot and commercial pilot with over 40 years of experience. Hello, Captain.
Hi, Steve.
Thanks for joining us today. I appreciate it. Too bad we're talking about something like this. When you first heard about this, how shocked were you that this was apparently blown out of the sky at 33,000 feet?
Well, the first thing was I just knew there was a crash. I heard those claims, but I thought, well, I got to check it out. How big is the debris field? If it's small, then it means the plane actually crashed and it came apart on the ground. If it's huge, like Lockerbie, that was 80 miles long. Wow. That debris field. If an airplane comes apart up at high altitude, it's all over the place. And initially, they were claiming the debris field was pretty small. So, oh well. So not long, though, after that, the news comes across that the U.S. says it was a missile. Oh, my God. Okay. So, yeah, I was surprised, but I did have that thought when I first heard about it. Why is this airliner flying in that area?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, too. I mean, are there financial considerations here, or is it just a dumb mistake? Because it's not like it just flew there yesterday. I don't know if they're continuing. I've heard reports both ways that they either are continuing that flight or stopped it. But nonetheless, I mean, they've been doing it for quite some time, and this Ukraine situation's been going on for months. So why would they do that?
Well, the short answer is, yeah, it's money, but take a look at the history. The U.S., I think it was April 23rd, the FAA said no more Americans are going to fly in that area. They closed it to Americans. Some of the other countries followed suit. Qantas did. Singapore did. Asiana, Korean Air, Cathay Pacific, Pakistan. They said, no, we're not flying in there. And so a lot of people thought it wasn't a good idea. So why did they keep doing it? There really isn't any good reason except that this is a cash-strapped airline and they didn't have the money to go around it or didn't want to spend the money to go around it.
Yeah, outrageous. And I guess pilots must have had great trepidation, I would imagine. And you could imagine it better than I, flying into that kind of zone, right?
Well, you got to be concerned about it. But at the same time, when an airline tells you this is what you got to do, if it's a unionized airline, you could get together with the other pilots and say, hey, look, we got to take a stand against this. But if it's a non-unionized airlines, you just kind of have to do what you're told to do. That's what it comes down to.
And to have Malaysian Airlines be involved again, I saw that one family actually lost members of their family on both flights. I mean, that's just uncanny.
Well, yeah, and you know what? There are going to no doubt be conspiracy theorists to say, no, there's some connection between the two things. But I can't put those dots together. Somebody probably will, but not me. I don't see that there's any connection. But it is uncanny. Accidents are so rare. It's like lightning hitting twice exactly the same spot when it's supposed to do that only one time out of billions. It is uncanny.
Captain, is this going to I don't know, raise red flags throughout the commercial aviation industry, or is this going to be viewed as for what it is, as far as we know, even our government is saying it was shot down by a surface-to-air missile, sophisticated radar, lock-on, the whole thing, by Russian rebels, most likely, with training and support from the Russian government, most likely. And look at it as, for what it is, an isolated aberration, if you will. Or does this, it was on the anniversary of TWA Flight 800, and don't forget you had those 40 witnesses or more that all swore they saw a missile go up and hit that plane 18 years ago. So does this reignite the missile fear, the surface-to-air missile fear for planes that are, if they're not at 33,000 feet, maybe while taking off or landing?
Well, yeah, I remember being in London and operations ready to come back to the U.S. and the guy says, oh, by the way, we heard there's a couple of surface-to-air missile shoulder-fired units been smuggled into the country. I just think you should know that. What are you going to do, go back to the hotel? No, and that was back 20 years ago probably, and we haven't been hit by a surface-to-air missile, except there was one, I think, in Iraq that was a military charter that got hit. But they still got the plane back on the ground. But this is the first time in years that we've had this kind of thing happen. And I don't think it's going to be a wake-up call for the airline industry. They already know this. I think what's going to happen with people who are afraid of flying is they're just going to say, I don't want to have anything to do with anything that goes into the air unless it's a kite or a baseball.
Well, Captain, what about the situation in Israel and with the rockets that have been raining down from Gaza into Israel? I don't think I had heard of any of the flights that go into Ben Gurion, for instance, not flying. Maybe I'm wrong. Do you know, was there any cancellations or hesitations once those rockets began flying in earnest?
That I don't know about, but we're talking about a guided anti-aircraft missile versus the kind of thing they lob over the border. That's a different kind of missile.
Yeah, and you're high enough that you think that would put you out of range of the Gaza lob missiles. Captain, thank you. Great to talk to you, sir. Appreciate your expertise.
Thank you, Steve.
Captain Tom Bunn, ladies and gentlemen, 40 years, Air Force pilot, commercial pilot. And it's got to be, you and I, we hear the news and we see the breaking news and we gasp and we look at the aftermath and, in my case, report on it and try to analyze it. And but we're all horrified when we hear about something like that. But when you're a pilot, and that's what you've done your whole life in one capacity or another, and something like that happens, you're in a whole different, plateau. You're in a whole different world than non-pilots, I have to believe. And you heard the reaction as described by Captain Bunn to when he heard the news and what he first thought. And it's got to be frightening. Got to be very, very traumatic. All right, folks, we'll come back with more of the Steve Malzberg Show, a little bit of me, right after this break. Don't go away.